The house still smelled like fresh paint the first few weeks I lived there. It was quiet in a way I wasn't used to. No roommates, no office chatter, no constant background noise of people needing something. Just the low hum of the refrigerator and the occasional sound of a car passing outside. I bought it at 24, not a mansion, just a clean, modern place on the edge of the city. But it was mine. The down payment came from the company I'd built over 4 long years. Late nights, contracts I almost lost, clients who disappeared without paying, and 1,000 small problems no one else ever saw. By then the company was valued somewhere around $2 million. My parents never visited the house. Not because they lived far away. They just didn't show much interest. Growing up, achievements had always been handled strangely in our family. If my older brother did something, it was a milestone. If I did something similar, it was nice, but the conversation usually returned to him. He was the one with vision, my parents said. I was the one who worked quietly. That pattern followed us into adulthood. When my brother launched his own business idea, the entire family rallied behind it. There were celebratory dinners, long conversations about investors, plans for expansion. I listened politely when I was invited, though my role in those conversations was mostly silent observation. His idea wasn't bad. It just moved too fast. He borrowed heavily to scale it. Investors, loans, personal guarantees. My parents even co-signed part of it so he could secure a larger funding round. For a while it looked impressive. Then the numbers started falling apart. Within a year, nearly $450,000 had disappeared into failed deals, canceled contracts, and expansion that never stabilized. At first the family framed it as bad luck. Then something shifted. One afternoon I received a legal notice. At first I assumed it was a mistake. My company had been growing steadily, but we had no disputes pending. Then I read the complaint. My brother was suing me. The document claimed that my company had been built on an idea originally discussed during family conversations years earlier. According to the filing, I had taken that concept and developed it independently, leaving him out. The accusation wasn't subtle. It called it intellectual theft. What stopped me cold wasn't the argument itself. It was the names attached to the lawsuit. My parents were supporting it. I sat at the kitchen counter in that quiet house and read the document twice. The language was confident, almost rehearsed, as if the story had been repeated enough times that it had started to feel true. My attorney reviewed it the next morning. The case was weak. My company's early documentation, emails, invoices, dated contracts, clearly showed the work had started long before any of those supposed family discussions. Legally, the claim didn't hold much weight. But lawsuits aren't always about winning. Sometimes they're about pressure. My lawyer suggested settlement might make the situation disappear faster. I told him no. If they wanted to pursue it publicly, we would respond publicly. The legal process moved slowly after that. Depositions, filings, long stretches where nothing happened, except paperwork quietly stacking up. During discovery, financial documents surfaced from my brother's failed business. That's when I saw how deep the damage really was. The losses weren't just investor money. There were loans structured through several lenders, some personally guaranteed. My parents' signatures appeared on a few of those agreements. The debts were spreading outward. Months later, one of those lenders began consolidating the remaining obligations. The debt package was being transferred, most likely to a recovery firm. My lawyer mentioned it casually during a call. Distressed debt changes hands all the time, he said. Investors buy it for pennies on the dollar and negotiate repayment. I asked him one question. Anyone can buy it. There was a pause. Technically, yes. The process after that was surprisingly straightforward. By the time the lawsuit was preparing for its next hearing, ownership of those debts had already been transferred. To me, there wasn't a dramatic confrontation, just a meeting arranged between attorneys. My parents arrived expecting settlement discussions about the lawsuit. My brother looked tired, but still certain of the story he'd been telling. My lawyer opened a folder and slid a document across the table. Debt ownership transfer. The room went quiet. He explained it calmly. The outstanding obligations tied to my brother's failed venture were now held by a new creditor, me. No threats followed, no raised voices, just the practical explanation of repayment terms, restructuring options, and timelines. My parents' signatures meant they were part of that conversation now. For the first time that day, I spoke. Not about the money, about the lawsuit. If the claim is withdrawn, I said, this gets easier. No apology required. Just the truth placed back into the court record. Weeks passed before anything changed. Then one morning my lawyer forwarded a short notice. The lawsuit had been voluntarily dismissed. No explanation attached. The repayment negotiations continued for months after that. Some properties were sold. Certain loans were restructured. My brother downsized into a smaller apartment. We spoke only through attorneys during most of that time. Life returned to its quiet rhythm eventually. Some nights I still walked through the house after work, the same one I'd bought at 24. The silence didn't feel lonely anymore. It felt like something clearer. Not victory. Just distance that finally made sense.